Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to Kidmissing Radio. I'm your host, Angelina Wilson. Today, we have the mother of Rosie Tapia, Lewine Tapia. Rosie was abducted and murdered from her Salt Lake City, Utah home. Sadly, she was found in the river behind the apartment complex where she lived. She had been sexually assaulted and beaten. She also had been apparently held under the water. What do you remember about that day? I know that earlier that day or the day before, a man had carried her back to the apartment from the complex playground. Earlier that day or the day before?
That evening, me and my husband went out to dance. And when we left the apartment, Rosie went back out to play with the twins. And when she ended up getting hurt in the playground on the slide, and a man brought her back home stating that she had got hurt on the slide.
Yeah.
So when he arrived at the apartment complex, the apartment where we lived, my daughter seen him from the front window and hurried up and opened the door and took Rosie out of his arms, and he had told her that she had got hurt. From the front window and hurried up and opened the door and took Rosie out of his arms, and she had got hurt.
But didn't Rosie say she actually hadn't gotten hurt?
Yes. When my daughter asked her if she had gotten hurt, she said that no, she did not get hurt. Yes. When my daughter...
That must have seemed really weird. Can you do me one small favor?
Uh-huh.
It's conflicting. Can you turn your computer volume down a little bit? I can hear the show back, and it's conflicting a little bit.
Okay.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Because at first I wasn't sure if that was you talking, and it was just a bad phone connection or what it was, but now I know what it is. And then in the middle of the night, that night, she was taken?
Yes, I got home around, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my daughter had told me what had happened and about this man, and my husband got mad and went straight to bed, and I started talking with my daughter, Emma, and then I went into the room to check on the kids, and I closed the window, but I didn't close the window all the way because it gets kind of stuffy in the room. Yeah. And I give the kids all kiss goodnight, and my son was in his bed, and Rosie and my daughter Angelica were on the other bed, and I left the door open. I did not close the door, and I told my daughter, well, I'm going to go to bed, and my daughter and her friend went to sleep on the sofas, and my granddaughter was sleeping on the floor right next to my daughter.
So your daughter's a lot older.
Yes, she was 18 when this happened. And then early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, I just woke up and I felt that I needed to go and check on the kids. I don't know why. I just had this feeling that I needed to go in and check on them. So when I opened my bedroom door, I seen that their bedroom door was closed, but it wasn't closed all the way because my daughter had a white rope hanging on the door. So I had this weird sense of feeling when I'm walking down towards the room. And since I got to the door, I pushed open the door, and the first thing I saw was the window was wide open. The curtains was falling to the ground. The blinds were tear down, and the screen outside was thrown to the side. I looked, and my son was still in his bed, and Angelica, where she was sleeping that night, she was on the side where Rosie was sleeping, but Rosie wasn't on the bed. So I started searching for Rosie. I was calling her name all over, and I went into the empty bedroom, and she wasn't in there. I went into the bathroom. She wasn't in there. So I started down the hall, and I started screaming at my daughter, Rosie's not in her bed. Get up. We need to look for her. So I went in my room, screaming at my husband to get up, that Rosie was missing, and I looked in my hall closet and see if she was there, my walk-in closet, and she wasn't in there. And I looked in my bathroom, and she wasn't there. And I started screaming, and my husband and my daughter and her friend took off outside to go see if they could find her if she, happened to go outside. But I just up and called the police, and I called my brother and told my brother, and by 6 o'clock, everyone arrived at the complex.
Wow. And you only had 2 hours sleep.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that nobody heard anything with all the window dressings torn down, or one of the twins come run to you.
Well, the neighbor upstairs said that they heard someone screaming, but they didn't know that it was coming from our apartment. They didn't bother to look outside to see what's going on. So they heard somebody screaming, but they didn't care enough to look out the window.
But you didn't.
I didn't hear the scream, no.
Oh, cool.
Because my room is far. It was far to the front, and theirs were their bedroom was facing the main entrance when you drive in. So my door was closed to my bedroom, so I didn't hear anything. My daughter said she didn't hear anything, so I don't know if Rosie was screaming or what was going on because I didn't hear it.
I'm surprised one of the twins didn't come and get you, being so little. But we do have a caller. Looks like they're from Western Massachusetts. Hello,
hi,
caller.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I don't know
caller.
if you're talking to me, Mary Rose.
No, I'm talking to you.
Oh, I just called in because I wanted to hear the show, but I just figured out how to call in, and I don't exactly have anything much to say except offer my sympathies because I'm the daughter of I'm the mother of a missing daughter, and
yes.
so certainly want to offer my
so much.
deep compassion, and I want to finish listening to this interview, and then maybe I'll have a question to ask or a comment to make.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was nice, Mrs. Tapia, huh?
Yes.
Mary Rose is my name, by the way.
Yes, Mary Rose.
My daughter was Annette, yeah.
Yes, I just had you on. You're a lovely lady.
Thank you. So I'll just listen to the rest of the interview, if I may.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You were recently on the case with Paula Zahn.
Yes, I was.
Finally getting some national attention to this case.
Yes, but I also, before I even went on Paula's show, I've always put Rosie's story out every year on her anniversary and on her birthday, that anyone in the state of Utah or anywhere, if they had any information, they could come forward I didn't want her story to die and people to forget about her. So when my sister wrote to Paula Zoncho, and they called and they told me that they wanted to do Rosie's story. So we flew out to New York, and we went and did the story, and I was so grateful for her doing the story because we did get some calls coming in on that from the show. So
wonderful. Okay. Apparently, your complex was very large. As I mentioned, she was found in the river.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if there was any DNA on her, but apparently they're trying to test DNA on a Barbie doll that was left on her grave.
Yes, there was some DNA on her, but I'm not sure exactly what kind of DNA they found on her. I'm thinking that some of it is in her nails, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But they did do some testing on the Barbie doll, and they did come up with some, I don't know what you call them, but they're holding on to it, and hopefully they could be able to run it and with this
like
new technology that's going out. Yeah.
Or in the family tree DNA, which I did. If you have any information, you can go to whokilledrosie.com. You can also call the tip line at 388-258-3313. And apparently 2 of the persons of interest actually had a fascination with Barbie, as I understand.
Yes. With my private investigator, Jason Jensen, since working on the case for the last 2 years, he's done a great job working on my daughter's case. I think this year alone, with her story coming out on Paula and the Utah Coalition for cold cases, and with him and the attorney that works with us, Kara Porter, they've done a marvelous job for me and my family. We've been getting more leads. We've been getting more coverage on my daughter. And so we're hoping that this year will be the year that we could possibly solve her case.
I pray that will happen.
I pray that will happen for both of you. Now, a man came forward to report seeing a teenage boy with wet jeans and a white pickup truck at the canal later that morning with a little girl. I was going to say better late than never, but apparently he tried telling somebody before.
Yes,
he tried reporting it before, but it just slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, the witness came forward in one of our interviews that we were having at the complex, and after the meeting, he came forward to me and told me that he's always watched me on the news, and that he always wanted to come up forward and give me this information. And he told me what he had saw, so I sent him to Jason to talk with Jason. And so we couldn't find the exact house where he lived. We had got kind of confused with the address. But then Marcos Ortiz from the Channel 4 News here, he found out where he lived, and we three went to go visit him. And he told us that he seen a white pickup truck with the man sitting in the truck with like a straw hat on, and he was just parked there. And then all of a sudden he left, and a few minutes later this young kid came out by the canal and started walking towards his house. And he goes, well, that's a pretty neat kid, nice cleaned up, clean-cut kid, walking by.
Hispanic male?
Yeah, he said he was Hispanic, and he was like between the ages of maybe 17, 18 years of age. He goes, the closer the kid got, the better he got a look at his face. And then he noticed that his pants were wet from the knees down. And so he goes that he got a good look at this kid walking by. And then the morning that they found Rosie's body in the canal, the witness said that he tried to get the attention of the detectives there, but nobody wouldn't pay attention. And then 3 years later, he went into the office, and they wanted to give him pictures of older men, and he goes, this was a young kid. I don't want to look at pictures of older guys. He goes, this was a young kid. So he got frustrated with the detectives, so he left. So never got a hold of the... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can understand why you would have trouble locating his apartment. I saw the aerial view of your complex, and it's a complex.
Yeah, it's a pretty big apartment complex. I lived right in the front, but the witness lived down the street, not too far from the complex.
Oh, he didn't live in the complex?
No, he lived where the canal was. He lived on the other side.
Oh. That makes sense. Would you please tell us about Rosie's law that was passed last year?
Yes. When Utah Coalition came together, they found out, along with Jason, that the database that they had for Salt Lake, they didn't have no information on any of the cold cases. So the reason for Rosie's Law is to be able to get a new database to that all law enforcement could put all their information into this database, that anywhere that anybody needed to find out about any cold cases, we have the information in the database. So Rosie's Law passed, and we got that new database that was set up a month ago, I guess it was, and the first case they put in there was Rosie's.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I thought that missing children and murder victims was... Excuse me, that's my timer. That's my oven timer. My turnovers are done. We're supposed to go into the NCIC database anyway.
Yeah. But
the National Crime Information Security.
Yeah, it's helping a lot of cold cases here in Utah because, there's a lot of cold cases. There's more than 200 cold cases here in Utah alone. And so we needed that data that they could log into that and put all the information that we needed for the state. So it was a good law that passed in Rosie's name.
So that's wonderful. I just was thinking about over 200 cold cases, and I was thinking about the population of Utah versus the population here in Massachusetts. Boy, that's a lot. We probably have that alone in Boston. I mean, wouldn't you say, Mary Rose?
Oh, I don't know, but I really don't know. When you say cold cases, you mean for unresolved homicides?
Yeah. Unsolved case. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I wouldn't have a clue.
Oh, go ahead. Now they were testing the DNA under her fingernails, as you mentioned earlier, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but they can go through the DNA, the ancestry DNA sites.
We're hoping to be able to do some of the testing or through the Utah Coalition. Their Kara Porter, they're getting a new DNA office building here in Salt Lake.
Oh, wonderful.
And it'll be opening soon. And that, so if anybody's listening out there, we are trying to raise money to help get this going because we do need something to help us
now,
here
does
in
the Cold Case
state.
Coalition, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to ask if they have a website that people can go to learn more, to possibly donate.
Yeah, there is a website it's the Utah Coalition for Cold Cases, and they do have a GoFundMe to help raise the money.
Wonderful. Sorry I interrupted you. Now, originally they told you that there was no DNA under her fingernails. Was that because of 1995 technology? They didn't think there was? Because this happened August 13th,
I'm not sure what went on in those years in the beginning because I used to ask the detectives if they had DNA on Rosie, and they would say, oh, well, we have some, but we don't know if it's enough. I just got these kind of answers from these detectives. They never give me a straight-up answer.
Mm-hmm.
So how long was... Yeah, exactly. So how long... Pass the buck to the next guy. How long was it between when she was taken and when she was found?
So if somebody came in and took her, they took her from the hours between 3 and 5 in the morning, and she was found around 9 o'clock, a little after 9 or 9 o'clock that morning.
Oh, that same morning.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you have any other questions, Mary Rose?
Oh, no, but I'm just so saddened about all these 23 years, and you still don't have answers.
Yeah, I guess the difference between your cases is they found her daughter, and it's horrible, and I can't even imagine the scream that must have come out of you. Your daughter, you still can't lay her to rest.
Yeah, it was kind of hard because my brother walked in, and by the look in his face, I knew that it was Rosie that they found.
Yeah.
So, right there and there, I lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. My heart goes out to you. Levine, is that how you pronounce your name?
Lewine.
Lewine, my heart goes out to you. And she was a beautiful...
Sorry about your loss, too.
Thank you, Lewine. She was a beautiful, beautiful child, Rosie. I'm looking at a picture. How old was she?
6.
Was she 6? Beautiful, beautiful child. And so I'll pray that you can get some resolution it seems like they should have found something by now.
Yeah.
But I understand that they haven't.
Now, I should mention that the Barbie that was found was called a Sweetheart Barbie, and it was made in 1994, the year before.
Yeah.
Just in case that, somebody in the area maybe knows somebody that bought one that didn't have a kid, or,
Yeah, it wasn't a brand new Barbie, because there was some, stuff missing off of it, but it was clean and it was just sitting there at the cemetery about a couple of weeks after Rosie passed, and a lot of people left a lot of stuff at the cemetery, and I would just bring it home and I put it into a case along with her pictures and that, and the Barbie sat in her case for years until a year ago when they asked me for the Barbie that they could do some testing on it.
Because of
how long after she
left on other graves?
I'm sorry?
Because of Barbies that were left on other graves?
No. One of the suspects that they thought, we're not ruling them out yet, but apparently we thought maybe he put that on Rosie's grave after Rosie passed away. We're not sure, but I guess he liked Barbie dolls or something, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that.
A lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them, including why on earth police decided that the guy that carried your daughter home the evening before she was abducted, I don't believe in coincidences like that, was a good Samaritan. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked on that too, because over the years, you see all these crime shows and everything, and everybody's writing on their little notebooks and everything, names, everything like this. But this Good Samaritan, these detectives, they don't have a clue who he was. They just said that he was a Good Samaritan, that he just brought Rosie home because she got hurt on the playground. But to this day, we don't know who this Good Samaritan is. What's his name? If he lived in the complex, what was he doing at the playground? Yeah, we don't have any of that information because they don't have it.
Well, you understand then, because I read in an article that they actually did question the man.
Yeah, they did, but they just ruled it out that he was a Good Samaritan. But in the records, they don't have his name or anything. We don't know who he was. And my private investigator, he tried trying to find out who this Good Samaritan is, and we don't have no clue who he was.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. Did the police ever try to talk to the twins?
They did. The first detective took my son in and tried. My son did say that it was a man with facial hair, but I'm not sure if my son knew what he was talking about because, he was only 4 years old. I don't really think he knew what he was talking about or what was going on. Maybe he did. I'm not sure what a 4-year-old could remember.
Yeah. One never knows.
Yeah. Because even now that they're they're 28 years old, I ask them, do you guys even remember anything? Do you guys remember anything about Rosie being taken out of the window? And he tells me, no, I don't know anything, he goes. So.
The person that took her had to be watching, though, because it's my understanding that that's the first night she slept in that room.
No, they were in the bedroom for not even a month. When my 18-year-old moved out of the apartment, we had 2 empty bedrooms. And the kids were sleeping in our room. We had a day bed in for the girls, and my son Robert would sleep with us. And Rosie asked if they could have one of the bedrooms. And I told her no. I go, you guys just continue sleeping in my room. I don't want you guys, clear back here in this room. And they go, well, Grandma's moving back in with us. She'll be right by us. And my husband goes, oh, let them have their room. So we got them some curtains for their room, and we put an extra bed in there for Robert, and we had a dresser right by the window, and so they were happy that they had their own bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you never would think, somebody would come into your apartment complex and take one of your kids.
No. I'm sure that's the furthest thing from your mind, especially,
No.
I don't think of Salt Lake City as a high crime place,
Well, we never did either, other than them trying to steal cars, or something, but you never heard about kids getting kidnapped or after sexual abuse or anything. And when this happened with Rosie, it was just heartbreaking to me because I knew she was sexually assaulted, but I didn't know exactly all the information that happened to her or what they did to her until I got her medical records. And some of the big words I didn't understand, but just reading some of that, I just broke down, and my sister had to take the papers away from me. She didn't want me reading them anymore. So it really broke my heart to picture her going through that all by herself and nobody defending her.
So sorry.
I can't even begin to imagine. Again, this took place August 13th, 1995. The tip line number is 388-258-3313. You can go to whokilledrosie.com. You can also go to the Utah Coalition for Cold Cases website.
Or they could contact Jason Jensen.
That's the detective?
Yeah, the private investigator.
Okay. I'm going to say thank you so much. Thank you for everyone listening. Thank you to Mary Rose for calling in. Thank you for Lewine for doing the show. I appreciate that so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Wonderful summer evening.
Bless you, Lewine.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.